Oh, Acropolis. Well, that's a surprise. And it's gonna be fun map. We are gonna be looking at Isis and Ra, and there's a difference in Acropolis because they are starting with plenty of extra resources. So it's not a standard start. They are starting with about just plenty more than the normal map. I think it's even something like 500 foot or whatnot. Unless it changed in AOT, which I don't really think so, because the maps really didn't change all that much. You're gonna be looking, of course, at everybody starting at interesting spot in the middle of the map. You can see 72 villages start and the opponent as well. So not really all that many villages to be starting with. So how is this gonna look? Well then, map seems to be kinda alrightish as far as everything goes. Kinda interesting position of the TC. I kinda don't like it. Even though it could be considered a good defensive option, it actually isn't when we are considering the Egyptians and catapults in the Mythic Age. That's gonna be definitely an issue, as we are looking at the second TC in the front for BoIt, which is... no, well, I don't have an opinion on it all that much. This TC seems to be in the range the same as GrandMonsters, but his TC to the right side, a bit similar to the TC of BoIt on the left, but I kinda think a bit more useless as far as map control goes. But still, he does have quite a lot of gold mines around it, so it's not really that bad. But what is definitely an advantage for BoIt is this gold. This gold in the very corner of the map. That's going to be fairly easy to protect, and what's gonna be tricky is gonna be definitely trade. Because you have to consider they will have to go somewhere, I don't know, around if they want to go to this TC or the main TC. They will have to go all the way in here. That's gonna be super ineffective for basically both players. Slightly better for GrandMonster. If you consider the fact that he can drop a market about here, and he does have a way outside of his hill, or how to call it, well, Acropolis, through here. So potentially if he can protect this part of the map, he can be having quite a good trade route, whereas BoIt is going to be absolutely screwed. It'll be very hard for him to do anything significant as far as trade. I actually don't see how he could be trading at all. It's going to be fairly easy for GrandMonster to actually control. So this is going to be a bit of a timer for BoIt to decide the game before that becomes a reality. A needed reality for the game, because the TCs don't help him at all. Anyway, though, this position of the TC is kinda suckier at this point for GrandMonster because he doesn't have the way outside of his base there. So it's going to be kinda trickier for him to control it. And he will probably be a bit more forced to go for this TC, which is BoIt's, and he does have a way outside of his base right next to it. So potentially the map control could be slightly better for BoIt, but really the trade is going to be always a problem for him. So he has to hope he closes the game before that happens to be a problem. Very good relic, tower range attack, melee attack and whatnot. So very important for Aegis. Myth unit crash armor, yeah, well, that's useless as always. And overall the gold mines are very nice for BoIt. This one could be also considered fairly safe because of the cover of the trees. Would be really quite happy about it if I were BoIt. And the golds are going to be tricky for GrandMonster because the safest one is basically this one. And since we have said a bit before that going for trade from here is going to be advantageous for him, if he scouts that part of the map, he should be seeing that this is something that will be quite alright for him, and he will definitely push for this town center. And that's probably going to be quite a good scramble for it from both sides. Well, and right, always gonna be tricky for both. Well, let's see who's going to be hoping to get it. In the meantime, we are looking at Husbandry on the goat, already having the X on it, and the same goes for GrandMonster, as there are not really all that many huntables in there. They have both started on the chickens, but otherwise there are some berries behind the base, some extra deer, and there should be even more deer on the left. Yeah, usually on this map you are having plenty of hunt if you can find it, which is sometimes a problem. Some berries in there, and even more berries, and well, yeah, I said if you can find it, but unfortunately BoIt can't even find it. He doesn't have any hunt whatsoever, he's having just double berries. But luckily for him, his opponent didn't find it either, so yeah, he didn't go for hunting dogs, right? Well, he's having husbandry, so yeah, of course he didn't go for hunting dogs. Already having pickaxe, and BoIt is probably going to be having the same. Yeah, he does. Yes, he does. So already going for the temple in the front, so that he basically protects the way inside his base. That's going to be another house coming from the front. Protect the tower altogether. Yeah, already moving there as well. He's probably gonna need a short wall in there. maybe extra house, not entirely certain, but he's through quite a bit faster than his opponent, seems like. His opponent is going to be advancing not that later, but you mustn't forget that your opponent is Ra, whereas BoIt is Isis, so Isis probably going to be coming for the standard faster heroic. And the advance for the, or rather the faster advance is exactly because of the extra resources I was talking about. Let's see if you can actually see it on the timeline. Yeah, you should be. And you can see they're starting with about 550 food. Not really the standard 300, is it right? Or whatnot, 200, 300 something. And overall, plenty of resources, 500 wood as you can see. Ptak just now advancing for GrandMonster. And gold, well, that's the one that is still low. But otherwise, plenty of resources all around. So fast advance, going to be very good faster heroic from BoIt, but maybe from GrandMonster as well. Because he is the Ra, he potentially could be dropping plenty of farms for all the gold that he could be already having. But the prosperity is going to be huge boost for BoIt. And even though GrandMonster is picking this map and Ra, because he hopes to, I think he hopes to shift in sand onto his opponent. Because that's a strategy that has been used in AOT RTS League some seasons back. But it was in team game where there were actually 3 Ras. And they all used shift in sands with siege towers on the enemy TCs. That was usually surprising. But right about now against the Negi, I'm not sure in 1v1 it's gonna work. He can have the ancestors against that, especially since rain is gonna be used for economy. Yeah, BoIt right now going to be even using that for himself. That's nice thinking. Nice thinking indeed. And yeah, doubt the effectivity of that. Or maybe it's going to be Scarabs on a vanilla? Don't think so. Don't really think so. Not really sure what's gonna be the plan for GrandMonster. Not really at all. But we're probably gonna see pretty soon as he's having Shadow, of course, Plow as well. And the opponent, unfortunately, not having the Plow for himself. Just now getting it. Still gonna be getting about 25% of it. He unfortunately doesn't have Sacred Cats, right? Yeah, even though he's through Bast. Could be getting even some extra from the farms, but he doesn't have all that many of them. But this is going to be super important. The fast advance, 640. Advance into faster heroic from Isis. That definitely has to be scary right about now. But yeah, he's gonna be controlling this gold, much more important with this TC that is much more accessible for GrandMonster. And BoIt, as he's scouting to the right, will probably soon discover that this town center, even though it is front of GrandMonster, it's not that huge. Not that huge indeed, and is going to be his basically for the control if he wants to. Siege works, coming up in here, going to be controlling the gold mine, and if he can really push himself a bit more to the left side in the next minutes, it's always going to be very hard for GrandMonster to do anything. So inside the base is of course open, but yeah, maybe not even available, even though Chariot Archers are quite fast, so they potentially could be getting enough hit points still left when they are getting through, but apparently not, as second TC is going to be the choice for GrandMonster, and maybe even going for, well, first it's going to be Lumber Camp, Hatter up, and it's going to be Migdol for him, and a heavily defensive one at that stage. You can see he's advancing like a minute later than his opponent. It's just a huge deal. But of course, he's going to be coming for a bit different strategy for quite plenty of villages and whatnot, and hoping that Hathor and his rocks are going to be helping in actually infiltrating the enemy base with the shifting sense on top of that as well, of course. So already coming with the siege tower to get rid of the houses and the tower and whatnot. The siege works already going to be coming up as well. And definitely curious what's gonna happen now, as BoIt has discovered that the map is sucky for GrandMonster. And he should be right now deciding what to do. If it's gonna be standard push in the heroic age, it seems so. He's even empowering the siege works so that he can get as many siege works, or rather siege towers up as possible. So he's right now going to be coming inside the enemy base, but already defense is coming up. But unfortunately, Chariot Archers are not exactly the correct unit for this. It's definitely not gonna be working against all of the siege towers. So right now basically BoIt is going to be having free reign of the enemy base, but he needs to kinda hurry up and really capitalize on this moment. Because if he doesn't, then the economy is gonna be getting away from him with the second TC from that player, as BoIt doesn't seem to be really interested in the second TC just yet. Moving ever forward. Well, hiding the chariots in there. It's kind of funny. Can hide even the chariots inside the siege tower. But elephants, of course, good unit. gonna be quite nicely tanky, but the way is already open, and of course that's gonna be a pretty big issue for GrandMonster, because he right now cannot defend properly, and will have to hope that his stronger economy is going to be carrying him, and of course the elephants as well. So it's going to be the decision right now. BoIt unfortunately not empowering. Yeah, well, just standing still and waiting for some kind of switch of units for him. Usually it's a good idea for, or rather you see ISIS is actually going for elephants as well. But maybe he's having problems with the food economy right now. Not entirely certain, but Petsuchos, good idea. Maybe he would be expecting a bit sooner the rock than the Petsuchos. But he's thinking that he needs to defend rather than attack at this point. Because I really think he should be already trying exactly the shenanigan of dropping some siege towers on the opponent and basically just be as annoying as possible. They are villages, but he could be at least forcing the opponent to look somewhere else. And that's what is the strength on a map like this. So moving ever forward, he definitely will need some extra priests, otherwise those Petsuchai are just gonna be absolutely slaughtering him without any kind of competition. You can see already 3 of them. Oh man, this is well played. 2 obelisks. Is he actually building the next one? Yes, he is. Somewhere or not? Just houses. I was actually thinking this could be already the big one. The big one, apparently not. As I'm looking around the map, not really much happening, just continued scouting by BoIt as he's looking around the map and knowing that he does have enough golds for himself. This is going to be an issue, of course, for GrandMonster, because he's going to be slowly but surely running out of gold. He's just right now at 2.5, which is still plenty enough. But mustn't forget that he doesn't have any extra gold. He would have to push for the one on the left, which maybe he knows about, but I'm not sure he knows about the ones on the right. It's going to be always tricky, but he could be trying, not even attack it through the rocks. Just go for a rock, scout around, and right now we are coming in apparently. Enough priests in there, I think so. 3 priests. That's looking quite good. And I kind of thinking that right now BoIt, not sure what he's thinking, if he can actually win. He's right now at 3 TCs, you can see, so he potentially is believing that this is the moment where he's gonna win the game. But I don't really think so, especially casting the Ancestors the way he did. You can see he's not getting any advantage at all, like literally any advantage. He cast it against 3 priests, against 3 Petsuchai, which are of course going to be shredding them. So, not a good idea. Super important got power wasted, and he basically lost all the army. So right now it's going to be GrandMonster's turn to actually attack, and I'm kind of thinking he might even win like this. Because apparently BoIt has supremely underestimated the Petsuchai. Like absolutely supremely, he has absolutely no priests for some reason. I don't understand why. I really don't get that all that much. Much more importantly, he's right now going to be having tricky goal, and I don't see how he could be winning this. He might have just lost his game through that unwise move. Yeah, he cannot defend this at all. Like, at all. Those Petsuchai are just gonna be absolutely killing him. He's not prepared for that. He just has to repeat for absolutely obscure reason, to be honest, because he has seen them a lot before. But well, yeah, it seems like that even the mercenaries are not going to be enough. This fortress, this Migdol is definitely down, and once it is, there's no defense left, just a TC, which is gonna be just easy pickings for the rest of those dudes. And even though he still does have the base in there, he does have enough gold all around the map if he wants to. He's still inside his base, he's going to be running out, well, not really soon, but he could be using a bit more efficiency with some extra mining camps around it. But of course, this TC is quite severely compromised on the part now, and the Migdol is going to be all about it. But with 2 villages, yeah, there's just no way that it could be actually coming back. So I'm not entirely certain what happened, because this game was going absolutely gloriously for BoIt. And it just somehow went absolutely wrong, pretty soon. And quick. Well played by GrandMonster, most definitely. Good pick of his home map, so he was probably more comfortable with the high resources and what to do with it. But yeah. Yep, exactly. He didn't have to do anything, he just needed to wait for the opponent to run out of gold, make a push for a gold mine, and basically lose there because of Ancestors and well-prepared army. That was really a supremely ill-advised attack, especially the casting of the Ancestors was completely useless. But well, at least you're gonna see a bit more games here. So it's gonna be tight, and the thought that I was having a bit before, that he could be using the rocks, scout a bit, and basically deposit himself about here. Maybe BoIt wouldn't be noticing him, maybe he would, well, doesn't really matter. But still, he will be forcing BoIt into all kinds of interesting situations. Yeah. BoIt played it correctly. Even though he probably is not all that familiar with the map. He didn't make all that many mistakes in there. He just somehow... The third TC was probably a mistake, because it cost him a ton of resources. He could have developed himself a bit more, and I just think he didn't react properly. He has seen what opponent is doing, the Petsuchai, the elephants, and he kept making chariot archers and nothing else. You can't just then hope that ancestors are going to be bailing you out of that situation. They are not that powerful, even though they are very strong. Now, good economy, of course, for GrandMonster because of the second TC. A whole lot sooner, and the economy by 20 villages better than. Wow. 48 and just 18 units killed. Well, that's sad efficiency. Yeah, you can see this escape with the villages. Anyway, GG.